When you start an extension in your orientation process, were you taught how to use the screen? Why does everybody waste all that space? It's the technicians. I turned it in.
Fill it up.
If I could, I would.
Well, it won't expand.
Every place I go, always that. Bugs me.
Yeah.
First thing I learned extension.
I can't miss anything bothering you. Oh. All right. So you got it ready to roll. Feel pretty good about the. Look at that. Look at something. You got a little bit.
I can change it. I can blow it up.
I know, I was trying to make it work, I'm making
So much depth.
I know, the screen's the right shape and everything.
I know, it's perfect. I'm at one.
How you doing? Not too bad. I'm running at one
Wayne wants to have.
Well, we're going to get started. Good morning, everyone. Glad to have everybody here. I'm sure most of you would just soon be out harvested, and I wish there wasn't as big a crowd here so we could be harvested, but we're just going to deal with what we've got. So, welcome. I'm Paul Gross. For those who don't know me, I'm the extension educator in Isabella County. This is kind of the first run out of the chute for the Farm Bill meetings. A lot of decisions that you're going to have to make. Probably not been on top priority with you, but I think it needs to be. So we got a whole lot of people in here that, because it's the first meeting, got extension educators here. Of course, we got our speakers, Roger Betts, Jim Hilker, John Laporte, Farm Management, Florencia Farm Management, Stan Moore, Dairy. We got Monica. We got Monica is a local. She's crops in Casey. She's swine in Gratiot. Corey is farm management in the Thumb. But first, I think I want to introduce Wayne. Wayne, there's a bunch of Farm Service Agency people here, and if you'd like to come up and introduce them or have first word here today, I'd be grateful. I thank Wayne for kind of pressing us a little bit to get this going as quick as we could, because I think the Farm Service Agency folks got to get a lot of people through this spring. And he kind of pushed us to get a couple meetings so we can kind of get a feel for what's going on. So Wayne?
Good morning. And I want to thank Paul for going ahead and putting this together, because we knew if we waited till December, January to have these meetings, there was no way we were going to get everybody in by March 15th. So anybody that's here today, I want you to be aware that we do have Laura is here with the appointment calendar. So if after today you think you're ready to make a decision, or you're given the tools to help you make the decision, as soon as you can make the appointment. And also because this is the first one of the season, we do have quite a few agency people here. So, but I'll start with Laura Mills. I don't know. Well, you probably have dealt with her, seen her. She's I think 3 years now with us. We have Jerry Spickerman, who is a district director. Ashley Eckel, St. Clair. We have Rosie from Sanilac. Travis Murray from Acosta. We have Steve Markley, Gratiot, a relatively new CED. Tara, she's not that new. I know that. She's a neighbor too. And then she has a PT with her Amy. Okay, so Gladwin and Midland PTs are represented. We have a county office trainee that's stranded with me, I guess. Alex, she's a CED in training. And Kathy from Tuscola. So we're well represented. Did I miss any? Okay. We also have at least one county committee member here, Kevin. I don't see John or Dee, so. Well, just a couple things I wanted to go over. If you have prevent plant weed, report it to your agent, but you need to come in and it makes the paperwork flow if you're into our office by, I'm gonna say this Friday, by the 8th. But certainly report it to your agent. You have 15 days from final plant date. If you timely report with them, we will accept that. You just need to bring proof into the office when you come in. The other thing is, if you've got some weed in, have you reported that weed to us? You have till November 15th. And I know nobody in here probably has anything else going on November 15th. So I'm going to say the 14th. You should probably be in here and have seen us. So again, I just want to thank everybody for coming. It is too bad, the circumstances, but you guys are taking advantage of this, and it's an opportunity. So you want to take a look at your individual farms, crops, and how you might sign up. And I just want to thank these guys for coming in. Thank you, Paul.
Okay, thanks, Wayne. If you need a handout, I don't think we made enough handouts, so we're going to make some more handouts. If you need a handout, we'll have some. If you need a pen and paper, we'll have some as well. But we're going to get started right with the program. Please ask questions if you have them as they come up, so we can get your questions answered. So I'm just going to turn it over to Roger and Jim, and they're going to take it the rest of the way.
Thank you. I've been trying to make sense of some of these. We're calling it Farm Bill, but it's really the decision, the PLC, our county. When I started this thing, it was how much set aside whether you want to be in the set aside program. If you didn't, I haven't done, we got rid of those in the 80s sometimes, and we've had programs since. So this program is really our county versus PLC. The Farm Bill is massive. There's all kinds of things in it. We'll get sloppy and call this thing Farm Bill, but it's really the decision between, do I sign up for price loss coverage or do I sign up for this? So the names on here is Roger and myself. I don't know what this name is, but I'm Roy Black, and Alex Schaefer is our new policy person, right back here somewhere. We're glad to have him. He's on faculty, and the rest of them are artistic farm management educators. This job would be a lot easier if this Farm Bill and everything in it had been already last March when it was supposed to be, because regularly, ideally, you sign up for a Farm Bill before you almost even plant it. You have that information, and you go through. I'll tell you up front, if that had happened at this point last time, you just do PLC and we go home. And if you look at the Illinois models and Texas models, they're still telling you to do PLC. There's something very different in this one. We're going to have a lot of information, not to scare the heck out of the FSA people, but you shouldn't make this decision until March 15th. Now, we can do a little better than that, because if you go through and I'll point out the terms, we're going to know an awful lot about what the price is going to be. Big piece of information. We're going to know an awful lot about what your county yield will be. Big piece of information. And I don't know about this county. We're going to go through and ask you questions, but there'll be counties in this state that will definitely want to use our county because of the information we have now, or at least on some of their crops.
For some crops.
For some crops, not all of them. Okay, and we'll go through examples. Okay? I can see scenarios where corn might be a toss-up, soybeans is Art County, and wheat looks like it's gonna be the PLC. Because we're putting in the specific things for that county to help you make your decision. Okay, so that's where we kind of get. And then we'll show you an Excel tool, which anyone can have, that may help you if you want to use it. Go through for your particular individual farm number and what decision is best for you. Okay, I don't think we'll have to wait till March 15th. We're gonna know an awful lot by late January and February. Okay, we're gonna look at the covered commodities, corn, wheat, soybeans. That's the one in our model we're concentrating on. It's really the only ones, but it's for any of these different, and some of you guys may have some oats or barley or and so forth like that. You'll need to make a decision on. Okay, the first thing we want to talk about here is there's going to be a chance to update yields. Okay? They're now called, we won't see it here, but we're going to start, we just found out from Wayne, PLC yields. You've heard them called program yields. Okay, each of your farm numbers has a PLC yield that's been delivered from history. Okay, and we're going to have a chance to update them. Now, it won't take effect until 2020. We don't have another overhead on this one, do we?
Yeah, come on.
Okay.
Those are two choices.
Yeah. Okay. We'll look at the two I've been talking about. We are not going to talk about ARC individual, but it is a choice. I think 3 people in the state signed up for it last time, and I know 2 of them aren't happy about doing it. Okay? So it's complicated. I'm not saying it won't work for some farm, but when we spent lots of time on it in the last farm bill, we had really a hard time making it fit for very many people. And it takes a lot of work to get there. Okay, the first time we're going to sign up for 219 and 220. I guess technically there's 2 different dates, but we really need to be signing up for both of them at the same time because the decision's the same for both of them. Then after this, and this is a big difference from the last farm bill, when you signed up for 5 years, after this, you'll have a chance to sign up in 21, 22, 23. I'm not sure, but my guess is it'll be a March type thing, sign up in those years, which one you want to choose. You won't have as much information as you have this year. What's going to make this complicated, I keep telling you how much information you have, but that's only on 219. We don't have any of that information on 220. We have no choice but to throw some numbers out there to help you make
Information
a
is what?
decision.
What information do we need?
Information. I need the marketing year average price that we'll talk about in more detail. That's a country decision. I mean, it's all the prices in the country for a marketing year, and we need county yields. Okay? If you knew those 2 numbers, of course, you'd make the perfect decision all the time. So those are the 2 things that we need to know, and regularly we want to know those in the spring of 20 for the 2021 crop, for example. We won't know that. And then we won't, my guess is we won't really have much information for any of these. So it's going to be different. So we have the one-time opportunity to update PLC yields for 20 to be used for 20 and 23, and we're going to talk more about it. It will not be in effect for 2019. You can make them all these commodity covered crops, which we talked about just a little bit back a ways. Up here, we got this one. Got this one pretty close. See, we were using that as descriptive, we didn't know that's their name, or updated yields used for PLC payments. We're not gonna spend a lot of time on it, but we're gonna do a little bit. In the 2014 Farm Bill, 2012 and back off 5 years, you took your average yield times 0.9, and that was your program PLC yield. And your average could be based on 1 year, and then there were some fillers. The updated yield will be 2013, 14, 15, 16, and 17, and we'll show you those years. Okay? You take the average corn yield of those 5 years, and you'll take your average soybean or average wheat, but you take your average corn, and you're going to multiply it by 81% instead of 90%. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. Okay? First of all, the reason the last time was 0.9 was a budgetary reason or something. We're only going to have so much money to spend, so your yield can only be this big to spend on it. This one, 81, is actually 0.9 times 0.9. Okay? And basically what they're doing is they're trying to. The extra 0.9 is we've had, yields have improved the second 5 years over the first, the trend yield has. Okay? If you happen to have a couple of really bad yields in that 208 to 212 period, you're kind of done in. So this is a chance to do that again, but not give you credit for the increased technology. Okay? So, yeah.
My farm number, I had 3 years worth of corn and 2 years worth of soybeans. So how do I average that? I didn't grow corn every year on those farms.
The average of 3 years for corn and the average of 2 years for soybeans. And if it's 1 year soybeans, it'd be 1 year, as I understand it. Okay? Because most of us, a lot of us on these smaller acres don't grow. We might go corn 1 year, soybeans the other, and so forth. Wheat, the yield didn't increase as much across the country, so it's multiplied a little higher. So you can do it, okay? There's a plug yield if you have a really bad year in one of your years to help you out, or 2 years. Okay, if it increases the yield, do it. Now we're going to go look at a program and make this a little bit more. If it improves your PLC yield, you change it. If it doesn't improve your PLC yield, you don't have to change it. You get to keep the higher of the two. Okay, so you won't be hurt by it. Go ahead.
A point here is that, as we've said, this yield is what's used to make your PLC payment. It's one of the major parts of that. In the 2014 Farm Bill, our county was kind of a lot more popular choice than what PLC was, and so the PLC yield didn't matter as much. If you went our county, it didn't matter because the payments weren't based on your PLC yield. This year, PLC is going to be a lot more favorable than what it was with the prior Farm Bill. And so updating these yields is, I think, very, very important to consider that. Paul?
How will it work? How will it work for a new farm coming in, a new farmer?
That's an excellent question for Wayne.
What happens is if you can't get the production from the guys planted the corn in those years, we will put that farm in there.
And if they had a prior one that's better than the plug deals, then they can stay with the prior. Because there's no new base acres. When we say a new farmer coming in with new acres, those acres have to have a farm number or it's not eligible. We're not adding base. You can't add base in this Farm Bill. Does that get your question, Paul?
It's not the same as crop insurance. Okay, with crop insurance, you got, fields close by or something. It doesn't work that way.
How about
you said oats back there. I know we used to plant oats years ago. We got some oat bases. We haven't planted oats in 30 years. I mean, would that still be?
If you got a base, you got a base.
So
Period.
we just keep it out there.
Yeah,
Base is the base. There's no way to change it this year.
this time, there was some minor ones you could allow last time and none this time on base.
If you got a big oat base, talk to me. I can work with you to do some calculations. Most people, it's minute. Good question. I go to the.
Yeah. We're going to go to the spreadsheet here. Just so you know, first of all, Roger did this thing, okay? And then I'd give him a little grief and he'd go work on it again. But most it's Roger's. He did the previous one, which I think was exceptional, and he had to work on this one, only 2 straight weeks, right?
Something like
Getting
that.
in the basement.
No phone calls, no nothing.
So anyway, you hit a thing right here, you have a county. Okay, so we're gonna work with Isabella County. Because we're in Isabella, okay? We're not gonna do a whole lot of here, but you have some farm name, some farm number. Okay? On that farm, you have some base acres. Now, Roger has a pretty dang big farm for a farm number here. The reason he's doing that is to show just, when we look at dollars down below, most people farm this much, it gives you a better idea just how big a deal this is. So that program yield, if you can get that up 2 bushel, and you got 1,000 acres, and you got 4 years, you're gonna be able to use this thing, it starts adding up to a lot of money whenever we get a PLC need. Okay? So you don't have to improve your PLC yield a lot to potentially have big. USDA came out with their long-term forecast yesterday or the day before. They're forecasting every single year of corn, other than this year, be below the reference price, which we'll talk about more, but i.e. where there would be a PLC payment. Every one of their forecasts. I went and looked at, they just updated another big factory, and every one of their forecasts have it. There'll be one. So this PLC and may or may not be your decision this time, but in the future there's a high likelihood of it, and it's liable to come in a lot of years. So here you have, and this is this, when we say 18, it's the one you got paid on last year, which would have been the same as you've been paid on the previous 4 years, right?
That's the payment that you would have just gotten like a month ago. October of 19, so we got the payment for the 18 program year.
So this particular farm had these PLC payments. Okay? Don't pay attention to irrigation. We'll come back later. It's big, but we'll come back to that a little later. Let's go down a little bit. We'll talk about these later. Let's go down to okay. You need to enter your farm yields, and this will calculate, if you put the right number in there, this will calculate your new PLC. We have it, and I'll tell you what these yields are in a minute. We have them for all of them. But if you have it with 3, the program knows you divide by 3 to get the average and so forth. And then he'll multiply it times the 0.81, 0.81 and a 0.85 something, okay? Yeah. What these numbers are is actually Isabella County yields for the 5 years that you get to use for updating. Notice the years of 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. It's not 18, and it won't be 19, but it will be what is used then for 20, 21, 22, 23, and 4. Okay? So if you took an average of these and multiplied it times 0.81, this would be your new program yield. Okay? It's not there, but it go from 96. Now, yours may not be this big, but for some people who haven't done it would. The 121 is going to be huge. Okay? This one's 34.5. This was a made-up example up there. I mean, those there, okay? We put these in here just as an example to show something. The county yields are not your yields. You need to put in your yields to make this decision. And again, you only put it in the years where you have a corn yield or soybean or wheat yield on that farm number. Yes.
For your tool purposes, what should they put on, let's say, 2015 for that one? Right, and don't put 0.
Oh.
We put a 0 in, but I didn't know for your tool, is that, well, 0 for it, give us some.
If you put a 0 in here, okay, it'll give you a warning. Use blank for no yield. So-
For that plan. We were advised to use substitute for that plan.
Oh, I don't know that.
Can you just look up?
I don't know that, Ann. That's a good question.
For prevent planting, there's going to be a yield.
I assumed it's 0, but I don't know, or
Let's
blank.
leave it blank then, for prevent.
I don't know that, okay? I do not know that fact. I am assuming a prevent plant is a blank yield,
No yield.
but I don't know that for a fact. Good,
Does anyone else know?
We're looking it up, but I believe it's a blank. It's not plain.
It's not, we have no yield, so it's not going to be the plug yield or anything. It's, yeah. Because that would, if you had to use the plug yield, that really hurt you. So it's better not to have that yield at all. Now, obviously, how many people have prevented planting the last 5 years? Well, we had some. So it is an important question.
How do you get the yield if you feed your crops to your animals?
Do you have one now?
Animals?
No, yeah. Do you have a program yield right now, or a PLC yield on your farms?
Yes.
good. So it's, I think I know the answer. Let's ask some of our FSA
Yeah.
folks. The question was, I feed all my corn to livestock. I'm a dairy farm, I'm a cattle feeder, whatever. How do I prove those yields? Anybody want to take a job at that?
Feed records.
Feed records,
3 scoops a day and,
guesstimate it, okay? And seriously,
yeah, well, I think
you guesstimate it and you do the best job you can with it and you send it in the county committee. That's one of the jobs of Kevin's job, isn't it? To see if that makes sense or not. Well, but
Yeah, it is one of his jobs.
yeah, okay. I mean, that's my understanding how it works.
Now,
Okay, so
we would prefer, I mean, if you, hopefully you put something on your calendar or something where you had a nutritionist come in and do a ration for you. That's the kind of stuff that makes it easier for Kevin.
Can't you use your insurance?
if you have crop insurance, yes, absolutely. That's recommended by most of the people. Is if you got crop insurance, use those yields. That's verifiable.
Crop insurance, it's somehow you can match up with that farm number.
Yes, good point.
I mean, I think you can still use it, but it might take some juggling a little.
well, here's,
Go
with
ahead.
crop insurance, I mean, if I got a bad field of corn, I'm gonna chop that off and feed it to cattle. If I got the good, I'm gonna crib it.
Yeah.
So, again, you can measure a crib, I can do that, I mean, you've done that before. But
10 acres, aren't they? I mean, they get silage yields?
So no, we get estimates. Well, for crop insurance, there's a yield for crop insurance off corn and
well, that's
silage.
what I'm saying is I don't take crop insurance because I'm going to justify what's going to go where.
Gotcha.
Okay, your question is absolutely perfect and right on target. Okay, my suggestion for you folks like that is work with your local FSA folks, and they will give you some guidance on what you can do and can't do. of what they want, okay? It's the best answer I can give you. It's a real problem. I understand, it's a real issue and a real problem for any livestock. Better answer, anybody, FSA?
Yeah. And right now, we're referring to 1 RPLC paragraph 61B, and it says planted acres. And if it wasn't planted, you leave it planted.
For
So that
that
goes
question.
back to the preventive planning question,
Yes.
okay?
What about the feed use?
Seed use, they can work with you on how to get a yield.
Yes. If they have crop insurance, certainly that's
Yes.
where we want to go.
But if you don't, then you're gonna need to work with your office.
Good question.
I'm not meaning to brush you off, that's
No.
what you gotta do.
No, it's a good question, very good question.
So we wanted to come here to show how these are done. Again, if this yield is lower than that one, you get to keep your old one. So which could happen. Okay?
Those yields are actually off of one of my farm numbers, so that's real bad, those PLC yields.
And I don't know about up here, but I know during that 08 to 12, there was a lot of counties around that had more than normal out of 5 years bad yields. So if that happened and you didn't have more than normal bad the last 5 years, by 5 years, these specific 5 years, then it may well help you out, be worth your while to update. If it's exactly the same, 0.81 times versus 0.9 is not as good. Yes, sir.
If your yield was less than the plug yield, you get to use the plug.
Yeah.
Higher up.
Correct.
Yeah, so you would use the 80% of the county yield as your plug yield. And will be calculated in here, right? No. Okay, so you'll have to do that one, okay?
Where do we get our county yields for that? To the office?
You'd have plug yields available for them?
Yes.
Yeah,
And when you bring in your yields to verify them, they can do it right then too. When you bring them in, yes, sir.
You can also find them on the USDA website.
yes,
That's right, okay.
Yields, how much yields.
yep.
We're gonna go back to the decisions.
The green ones are county, is it all county, correct? Or that's-
Yeah, just for default, just for discussion purposes only.
Yeah, that's all.
Those are not the right numbers to use. You have to use your numbers, your farm.
Yeah,
This is just garbage up here,
Okay.
and
okay?
we're gonna use that garbage for a good reason a little bit too,
Okay.
but yes, it isn't right.
You cannot use those yields. That's just for illustrations for what we're doing, for our benefit, not yours, just to illustrate. Well, here's what your yields were as a county average.
County average.
You have to plug in your yields for your individual farm numbers, number by number. If you got whole farm, you gotta divide that, you got 50,000 bushels on, 500 acres of corn, you had 100 acres of yield across all our acres. That's what a lot of people end up doing. So they don't break it out by farm number.
Isabella corn plug yield is 113.
For which year?
That's the plug yield that would go into any of those years.
So it's not year by year.
That's
No, it's
correct.
not.
Thank you. I just learned something new.
Okay, you wanna blow it up here?
It's 80%.
Okay, we did this one here. Okay, now here's we're gonna go to the choice, and we're gonna repeat a lot of things. When I say PLC, that's the price loss coverage. That's the same name and the same concept in this farm bill, definitional changes in that one. The agriculture risk coverage programs, same. There's some changes in it we're gonna go through, but the same basic concept as the previous farm bill. We put that here, and we say there's our county and ARC individual, and we'll be talking about ARC County. We're gonna go through with some of these names, but we're gonna build to where we actually give you a set of numbers. Okay, so we're gonna talk about kind of what the different names and stuff are, and then go with examples with numbers of what those are. It's a price-based payment for prices less than a reference price. And we'll get to what the reference price is. But it's a price base. It's something minus something, and you get the difference. It doesn't matter what your yields are, is what the point we're trying to make here. It's only what U.S. prices are.
The yields matter for your PLC, because that price is multiplied by this PLC yield update we're talking about.
Yeah, but once you sign up for that program, the only thing that will change your payments is price.
Correct.
ARC is a more revenue, not making up for crop insurance based. You have some coverage guarantee that is based on a combination of price and county yields. The same U.S. price and county yields. And not your yields, county yields. Oftentimes the county goes up or down. If it's a real bad year or good year, you tend to be in the same range, okay? So revenues is a price times a county yield. And I already said this part here, we're going to be concentrating on our county, not on our individual. Okay. We're going to get some numbers here soon and what they are. If the effective price, which by the way is the marking year average price, is less than this reference price, which is set in the Farm Bill, then you get a payment. The effective price is also used in Ark County. Okay? Now, what is it? The effective price is greater than the national marketing year average price, and that's why there are two names for it. For the crop or the national loan rate. We have to say it that way. We don't want to make a very big point of it because the loan rates are so far below the reference price that it's kind of immaterial. If prices are that low, we got other issues to talk about, lots and lots of other issues to talk about. That'd be 220 corn, for example. We don't want to talk about 220 corn, or I don't. Maybe that's why I'm going in March, right? No. Okay, the marketing year average price is September 1 through August 31st for any year. That's just 1 year's example. For wheat, it's June 1 through May 30th or 31st, whatever number of days in May that year. Okay? This marketing average year price, you don't describe anywhere else, right? Okay. Well, it's a weighted average price of all the corn sold in the U.S. between those two dates. Doesn't really matter what marketing year it is, where that corn came from, what year. Okay, weighted by the amount sold at that price. Okay? And the USDA keeps track of that month by month, so we already know what it was for September and October. Well, maybe they haven't released October, but the point is that it's in.
So this is not futures price, it's what? It's the actual.
It's the actual cash price received by farmers. And if you brought in, you had a forward contract still for 4 1/4 corn, that's the price times that 1,000 bushels or whatever you have that goes into it. Okay? There's nothing you can do about this price, it's what it is. The USDA puts an estimate out every year, every month in their, what it's going to be this year in the county. And whenever they update the supply demand reports once a month, their price at the bottom is their best estimate. If it's a previous one, it is the marketing average year price. It's their best estimate going forward, and they take in any information they have to that point. And then they forecast the rest, and they have a lot of different ways they put into their forecast. So the reference price is that $3.70 for corn, which is the same in this Farm Bill as the 2014 Farm Bill. That was not changed. Soybeans $8.40, was not changed. 550 for wheat was not changed. Okay, so the reference prices stayed the same. So that goes up here, but we're going to talk about effective prices less than the reference price. Now I've given you them. I'm going to say 2 sentences on this and then we're on it. We might touch it. There is a way that number can change, but it won't change in the next 2 years. And it's a long formula that can go up. So if price of corn get up around 460, that number might go up. The average price of corn around 460. Okay, so
it's 85%. If the national average price ends up being greater than 85% of what that price is, if that price at 85% is greater than 370, then we'll actually get a new higher reference price. We don't expect that to happen.
and it won't happen.
For
By
19.
definition, it can't really happen for 19. Okay, so reference price greater this marketing year average price. And just to give you an idea, right now the USDA is calling that 380 is their best guess. And we'll show you some other forecasts, okay? But right now the USDA for 19 is calling it 380. Or loan rate, the loan rate's 220. Okay? So the greater is 380s, okay? If the payment rate is 0, if MYA is greater than the reference price. Right now, 380 is greater than 370. The USDA came out with a forecast on Monday that they think the price will be 340 for the 2021 year. So let's say they're right. 340 is greater than the loan rate. It's less than the reference price. So if that came out, 370 minus 340 is 30 cents a bushel.
You said for the 20
For the
crop
20
year,
crop year.
which is the 2021 marketing.
Yeah. Well, okay. Often here, we're going to, if we say the 20 crop year, we're referring to the 2021, if we don't say the whole thing. When we refer to the 19, we're going to talk about the 19-20 crop year. So it's the 19 crop. The crop year, when we look at prices, is a 19-20.
Government reference price, that's from the farmer's sale directly to the elevator?
No, that's this one here.
All right.
Yes, the farmer sales to the elevator.
Not what the elevator sells it for, or what Chicago Board of Trade or goes overseas or whatever.
Yeah, there's a massive survey of elevators on what, not only what they're paying farmers, but how much they're, you know, if they sold 1,000 bushels at 220 and 1,000 bushels at 240, the price is 230. Okay, so it's the price you all receive at elevators.
Crop insurance uses futures price to determine the coverage and payments. Farm Bill, the reference price for this marketing year average price is the national average farmer received price weighted by months.
So this is the one you're talking about. That reference price is the 370 that's set in the Farm Bill unless prices go really high. So the total payment is going to be the payment rate. Okay, so let's say it is that 30 cents times your PLC yield times 0.85 of your base acres. Okay, so whatever your base acres is for that farm. Not what you did that year. And then we just made a note of what we talked about here. The payment PLC yields will change or can change in 2020, which is part of this time's decision. Okay, ARC provides revenue. If the actual revenue is less than guarantee revenue, we're going to go through what guarantee revenue is. Coverage guarantee Okay, it's gonna be 86%. Again, I'm not gonna explain 86 was a budgetary. You only can spend so much money on the farm bill over a 10-year period. And that 86, the same as it was. So there's two of them. Our county, which is based on a county yield, this marking your average price, the price received by farmers, or the reference price, okay? And go ahead.
The point is that reference price is important because if the marketing your average price is below that 370 on corn, that reference price, to calculate your benchmark, they don't use a number lower than that reference point. So it's like a floor.
Yeah. So, and we'll show you some numbers a little later on that makes that explicit. Have we had prices under 370 in the last 5 years? Average price per year, the answer is yes, 4 of them, okay? Okay? When we're looking to make this coverage guarantee, we're gonna use 370. So we'll show you that as in the example, so forth as we go. And we're not gonna talk a lot about this one. It's 65%, you gotta look at the whole farm and several other things. Okay, this benchmark revenue, and here's where your point comes important. It's a 5-year Olympic average of the marketing average year price, unless the marketing year average price is less than 370, and then it's 370. Okay, so just a little hint. What's an Olympic average? If you have 5, what's the Olympic average? You drop the high, you drop the low, it's the other 3, right? Well, one of these years was higher than 370, the other 4 years is 370. So what do you think your Olympic average is? 370. Times the 5-year Olympic average of county yields. Well, this is a beauty. Go ahead and talk about this now, right? Or you do a little bit more later.
No, you're talking about-
Right now. Olympic average of a county yield. I think the trend yield, we have another
We're gonna talk
slide.
about that later.
Yeah, I think so. If we don't, we'll go back to it. This gives actually it's going to be a benefit to producers. And we'll get.
And what we're talking about is the difference between the 14 farm bill and the 18 farm bill.
see this.
Okay, there's a difference. I don't think,
No, I got to go ahead and Talk
it's
about it.
only in the summary at the very end, so I think I bring it up.
Summary.
How do you want to do it?
okay. What does technology do to trend crop yields? It rises, right? So if any of you guys have ever watched my Outlook talks, I put up a whole bunch of yields and I put a line through it. And it's always gone up, right? So when I make a forecast for the next year, not knowing what it is, I go out that line one more year and I say, this is the trend yield I want to use in my forecast. Because I don't want to take an average yield because we've been going up 2 bushels an acre all over the place. The country as a whole, Michigan as a whole, it's like 1.7. We're going to find out the counties are all over the place, but it's up. Okay? So to base this county yield on some average of history doesn't take into account gains from technology. Okay. Now I'm going to make a little explanation. If you don't get it, doesn't matter, is because the numbers are what they are, and that's what you're going to get paid on. Okay? So this this county yield has been adjusted for trend. Okay? So here's my trend going up. Here's my high yields. Here's my low yields. Okay? For the U.S., if we did that over 5 years, this end is 10 bushels lower than this end if it goes up 2 bushels a year, which for the U.S. it has been, just under 2. Okay? So I don't know how many years back they went to get the county trend yields or the county yields they used because there's issues on that I don't want to get into right now because there's NAS and all kinds of, okay? And what they basically did is instead of using this yield down here that might be a little above or below the trend line, they went like this. They brought this end up 10 bushels. So they took whatever the county yield was 5 years ago, and by 5, I'm only looking at the 13 through 17, okay? I look whatever the county yield was in 2013, and if my trend was 2 bushels a year, I added 10 bushels to it. Whatever my county yield was in 14, I added 8 bushels to it. 6 bushels, 4 bushels, 2 bushels, and even. Then that trend is going to be used continuously, this, whatever the it's not 2 bushels everywhere, that's just an easy one, okay? They'll be added to the 18, 19, 20, all the way through the 23 year. What this means is, now we're taking a 5-year Olympic average. You think of an Olympic average of these numbers, or these numbers going to be higher? These numbers, a lot higher. And they've already projected out the 19 Olympic yield, and we'll show you what it is for your county. We'll show you exactly what it is. For a majority of the counties in Michigan, the Olympic average yield that's used is higher than any yield you've gotten in the last 5 years. For most of them, I think, not all of them.
Not all,
Not all of them.
half of them maybe.
Okay, now, if your revenue guarantee is based on this really high yield, it's a lot easier to go lower than that. I mean, if your best yield, you're probably happy, right? This year, you're probably happy with your best yield in the last 5 years, right? I know it's not going to happen. My point is, you don't have to be as much below as last time where it was a straight yield for our county to start kicking in. And we'll show examples of that. So this is, I can't see anything but advantageous for farmers on this. Okay, a little bit complicated, but the higher yield they base your revenue guarantee on, when it's going to be compared when you get paid to your actual county yield, that's a good thing. So, 5-year average yield, if it's 100 bushels, I mean, it was $4 times 100 bushel would be 4 times 100, multiplied by 0.86, and we'll do some more examples. Okay? What did I do with that?
So what you're saying is, most likely the next couple of years, we'll more likely be below that county average than we would be at the end of the year, at the end of the 5 years.
Well, except that Olympic average may go up or down, okay? But it is going to be adjusted by trend. Now, the 18 yield for a lot of counties is a little worse, so that for a lot of counties, our best shot at, because we don't have the exact number, we had to make our best guesstimate. We think we're really close for the 20 Olympic average yield. May go
18,
down and up a little.
I got 18.
Well, we have the out team, but you had to adjust it for trend. And we're pretty sure we did that right. But that number's not out there. Okay, so we have this number, a price times it, times 8.6, and that's going to be compared to whatever this price MYA turns out to be, in this case, the 1920 year for the whole country, times your county yield for each crop year. Okay, and I got a feeling once these things get harvested, you're going to have a pretty good idea of what this county yield is going to be.
I think you slipped a little bit. The market year average price for the 19 crop
Is the 1920.
is that 1920 time period starting September 1 of 19 through August 31 of 20 is the market year average price for the 19 county yield.
And then this one would be whatever you're harvesting of the crop that you're harvesting right now. Hopefully it'll all be 19 crop. So we got the payment rate, the coverage guarantee, If it's greater than the actual revenue, you know, what you did get, and what the marking average year times county yield, it's the lesser of the coverage guarantee minus actual revenue, or 10% of the benchmark revenue. Otherwise, there's a cap on it. Okay, and there was a cap on it in the previous farm bill too. And it's one of those things that if it looks like our county, but the prices go down near loan rate, then you could have a different answer if your predicted price is that low. And then the total payment is this payment rate we just calculated, which the calculator does, times 85% of your base acres. Okay, that part's similar too. Okay, now let's go through some numbers. I'm going to start on this side because Roger made this slide, so he did it one way, I have to do it the other. Okay? Reference price 370, that's the one that's set. Our best shot, because it will be, I mean, it will actually be what it is, but right now we're guessing.
Well, that's gonna be for the 20 years, as an example, so.
Yeah, like if this was the 20, but we could go down there this year. I'm not saying we won't.
Okay.
We've had some pretty screwy policies thrown at us. Payment rate would be 20 cents. Everyone get, that's pretty straightforward calculation, right? Okay. Your payment yield, we just used an example of 130. 20 cents times 130 is $26 per acre. 85% of that is 2210. If your base acres are 100, this would be your total payment.
For PLC, does not matter.
For PLC does not, well, for either of them, it doesn't matter.
Correct.
Although if you have 250 in the county and you took the county with you, it'd make a difference. But no. Now, on the other hand, if you can take that 250 bushel yields and you've had really good for the last 5 years and go in and get a new.
No, yeah, but I mean after the fact. You were
After
saying
the fact, no.
That triggered payment wouldn't matter what your growth.
That's correct. That's correct.
Right, and I think that's a real important question, because this is also based on your base acres. I may have planted all corn this year, all soybeans this year, and my base may be 50-50. So those are good points. It's on your base acres and your PLC yields. That wasn't a hard switch to make, Roger.
Well,
It's nice having one name. We'll come over to benchmark. It's 370, because the Olympic average of, I think it's 396 and 370 4 times is 370. Benchmark yield. This is an example. This is benchmark yield is this trend adjusted county yield Olympic average. Okay? So when you guys see your county, it's only a little below this, Isabella.
I think that was Gratiot.
That one's Gratiot, but so we multiply those two together. Okay, we multiply it times 0.86, and this is your coverage guarantee. Okay? When they say 10%, they go back to 10% of this one. You can kind of see the math there. Okay? You won't get paid over $61 an acre. Okay?
Payment rate will not be more than 61.
Yeah. So let's say the actual revenue, we're going to use the same 350. We're going to say the county yields 145. Multiply that's 507. The payment rate is 1785.
Guaranteed coverage guarantee.
The difference between these two, okay? I've got a little messed up,
I see
okay?
you were looking kind of squeaky.
1785, 85% to 1785 is 1571 times your base acres. So if you'd been in, are these examples enough for like, same,
They're exactly, yeah. it'd be the
same farm, okay?
Same.
In this case, using hindsight, we would have wanted PLC with both paid. Okay? We're not saying that'll happen, but we wanted an example where both of them paid something.
So the yield, to make that trigger, went from a benchmark yield of 165 down to 145. How realistic is that for a county yield? I don't know. But by March 15th, sorry friends in the back, okay, we'll have a pretty good estimate of what the county yield was in Isabella County on March 15th of 2020 for the 19 crop year.
And if this turns out, so there's a big difference. If this is 145, that would one. If this is 135, this one. Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, I get what you're saying. So what these guys need to know, they have till March 15th to change it.
Yes.
So if they come in and make an election and then see something change.
Beautiful, because we haven't gotten that answer out of anybody else as of last week when I was talking to the director.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is good. If you've done your paperwork, everything's in there. I'm not asking you much. I think we'll have it in February. We'll be able to do things. Okay?
Yes.
If you have everything else set up and you pick one, you can go walk in the door and pick the other one.
Before March 15th.
Guys, sign up as soon as you can. Get the paperwork done, yeah.
Just one more clarification. If you fail to make that decision by March
Oh, yeah.
15th, what happens? You default into what was already there. And if you default, you get no payment for 2019. So you don't want to miss that deadline date. Because if there's any payment at all for 2019, you're out of the ballgame. Don't do that to yourself.
Good point. Thank you.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
You guys can see March 15th.
Okay.
The way the weather is, you might not be able to feel, then what are you gonna do?
Doesn't, okay,
I'm just asking
it doesn't matter what your individual yields are,
Well, what
Okay.
there's-
The county?
but for the county as a whole,
Yeah.
there'll be estimates by that time.
Let me tell you something.
But we may not know exactly.
This,
That's a good point.
but we're gonna know this number isn't gonna be very good.
I know that.
I think you'll, and my guess is,
Great question.
even if you guess the highest or the worst you think it's gonna be, you'll be able to come to your answer. So even if you guess it is, thank goodness that they can, yeah. Get the paperwork done as soon as you can. I've been begging people to do this program yield thing since last February. I don't know whether they've had anyone come in, but updating the program yield last winter when you know you're out of the field, but I don't know whether anyone did. Oh, man, that makes life easier. You want to do this one?
Sure. Okay, this was not talked about much in the 14 Farm Bill, but it was available. It's called SCO, Supplemental Coverage Option. It's available through crop insurance. And the intent of this is that if you have PLC, you chose FSA PLC program for corn, we'll say, okay, that made you eligible for a supplemental coverage, what's the term, option, okay, through your crop insurance. And the idea is that this will kind of pick up the difference. Say you have a 80%, maybe a 70%, so 70% crop insurance coverage, okay? And you got 70% kind of coverage on your individual yields, because that's crop insurance on your farm, your optional units or enterprise units, wherever you're using, all those kinds of things. Okay, that you can buy this other coverage option that would basically pick up the difference using county, like a GRIP policy, to pick up the difference between your 70% crop insurance and this 86% value that you kind of can get with our county. Okay, it's called supplemental coverage option. And anybody use that? The crop insurance folks talking about this? How many of you not heard of this before? All right, it's available. It's part of the 2014 Farm Bill. But most people went our county for a lot of it, so it really wasn't an option. Okay, but this time, I think we're gonna have a lot more PLC. And so this is an option that you can kind of get some, you gotta work with your crop insurance agent and so forth, and see if this is another tool based on county revenue that might go along with your actual crop insurance coverage. You can go with a 60% policy, 50% policy, and buy the SCO. Now, again, that's county average yield, okay, not your individual yield. And so there's always risk in terms of the difference between your actual farm and what the county yield is, good or bad. Okay, question?
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things for farmers not to mistake is your individual coverage plan will start at 70% if that's what you elected. And then the extra 16% gap in there is all based not on your individual yields. Based on
It's like a grip policy. Okay, they get all the points up there. But there is a unique thing. There's a unique thing. Okay, and that is for the 19 crop year only. If you signed up for SCO and you choose to go with our county, for some odd reason, okay, Congress decided you can still get SCO. It's almost like double dipping. Because you do SCO for the difference on your crop insurance, even though you're in our county. It's only for the 19 years. So you would have had to sign up back in March of 19 for the 19 crop year. I did that myself. My crop insurance very aggressive and talked about that. You know, if you go PLC, that you might want to at least have this available to you. It's fairly cheap because what? It's a county-based revenue, so it's an average year yield for the county, which has a lot less volatility than what your individual farm may have, and that's a farm as a whole type thing. In terms of different counties, if you within a county, because you got different policies within different counties and so forth. Okay, so it's an SCO. We need to make that you aware of that opportunity that's there. Talk to your crop insurance agent about it. They should be well informed of those. But it didn't apply in past years because everybody was our county.
But it's not available to 19 crop year for anyone who hadn't signed up.
That's
already.
correct. That's correct. So it's not available to you guys. If you would have had to sign up for it.
But they could still use it for 2020.
For 20, yeah, because 15th of March is the crop sign-up deadline, right? So you had to make that election at that time. And for the 20 year, my understanding from my crop insurance agent, it's only for PLC choice. And part of the point that, this whole program is kind of like, in a way, crop insurance. It's designed to try to analyze risk. We'll get into this a little bit more now. But what happens if? Okay, if we know all the facts, it's easy to figure out. Okay, how many of you have life insurance? Probably quite a bit of you, lots of you, okay? A bunch of you. Okay, hope you don't use it in the next near term. Right? Same idea with some of these risk programs. Okay, what gives you the best protection in the ifs? And we'll get into that.
Roger, is that choice by farm number and crop as well?
It's got to match up to your insurance policies. Okay, and so, and maybe that's part of, the optional units, and even if your optional units and your FSA farm numbers don't match up, they're not the same exact acreage. Right. So I don't know on that. Okay, good question. It was subsidized 65% in 2014 farm bill. I'm not sure on the 18 farm bill how heavy that's subsidized. Is it about the same? Okay, so you work with crop insurance. Cool. Thank you.
You did all these, right?
Yeah, good enough.
These are some changes. We'll go through them pretty quick. The farm bill makes payments on counties where the farm is located. There was some description of that before.
In last year, 2014 farm bill, it was your administrative county. And so you had Gaines playing, oh, I'm gonna sign up and this kind of looks like it's gonna have a higher payment, blah, blah, blah. Now it's where that farm is actually located. It has to be, that county's yield data, not your administrative unit.
This next one is a black box. A little bit. The yields from cropping, so you have to figure out a calculation of county yields. Turns out the ones calculated from crop insurance at times were way different than the NAS ones. So it's a black box that I've never been given the privilege to see how it works, but they use some combination of them or what they feel is the best information to establish that county yield. This is probably good. Basically, the goal of Congress is let's use the best numbers available to get the number. And now that may vary by county. The plug yield went up. We didn't tell it went up, but that's one of the difference. And the trend adjusted yields, which I talked about. Although that's where we went like this and got higher Olympic average yield. The effective reference price, we've talked about that a little bit. If the prices go high enough, this reference price can go up, and that'd be for either program. For the 218 benchmark yields and price are used for calculating them, but they're lagged a year. So 2018 isn't in the calculations for our 2019 guarantee. So when these numbers are redone, the next time it'll be 14 through 18 for the 20, so that's what they mean by lag.
So what that does, when we get into think about it, the 21, 22, and 23 decision, you'll know what your benchmark revenue will be. Because we'll have that information, because it's based upon a year behind us, the 5 years after 1 year behind us. Okay, does that make sense?
So this one we stole from Farm Doc off Illinois. So I want to give them credit for any correctness or errors. We're using the March 15, 220, and we said for the 19 and 20 sign up. And I think realistically that's what it is, but there's some other date out there for 2020. Anyone know how that comes into play, or should we just forget about it?
Well, it's June 30th. So the problem you run into is multi-producers, shares on a farm. And so we can't run them both without all the signatures. For 19, we can't run it. So we're focusing on the 19 by March 15th. If it's a one signature for one guy, we'll run them both at the same time.
Okay, but whatever decision they make for 19 on this decision is going to be the same for 20. So do they have, I won't say, I was going to ask if they have more time to get that yield updated that way, but.
Till September.
Okay. So there is a little bit of difference on that, but the decision of ARC versus PLC is a March 15th decision for both years. And it's the same thing for both. Yes, ma'am.
Also, if you pick up a new farm in 2020, you can't make a decision until whoever had it in 2019, make a decision or if they call it that.
So that gives you time for whoever planted it or whatever. So the primary decision's made, but just how it's gonna work through for who's paid and all that. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, remember now, you can sign up anytime.
So that ground was changed hands on like March 14th. Is there a timeline where they can change it? Like you just said?
1 day.
It's just
ground for 2019.
Yeah, everybody's open for ground seven, it hasn't changed, sorry. One person has to make an election over the fall because they don't make an election, the person gets the default.
Are you guys also, you mentioned that they have a multi-year option? So they can select for 19, they can select it's for through 2023.
For the,
No, I didn't mention it. If you sign up for 2019 and say, I want to do that same thing for the whole time period, you can do that.
Yeah. And change your mind.
And you can change your mind as long as you do it before the sign-up date for 21, 22, or 23. I forgot about, I had not put it in. We might want to.
Did I read someplace where if you're changing meals, I assume increasing it, but you have to have the landlord sign off on it too?
Anything to do with the land, if I'm saying this right, is for base acres and yields at least, you have to have the landowner's permission or attorney rights or whatever you call
The landowner signs the yield adjustment.
it. Yeah.
But if it's multiple units, you only need one family member or one person sign, right? I finally read that. I was-
Good, so that's good because my wife's one of a million kids and 9, I'm still owning this 200-acre farm. Don't try and get them all signing things, man. We do have one person. Covered commodities, program crops we're talking about. This is kind of starting to look a little bit about this group thing. I don't know how much. They're kind of over that one now. It was important in the last one. So a little bit more, we're real soon here, we're going to start using the model.
Yeah, it's all review.
This is kind of review that's on there, maybe in a little different way. You've seen it. This effective price, it shows how high corn would have to average in order to change it, or soybeans or wheat would have to average in order to see it. I don't want to be doing it with your computer now. Okay. So let's go up a little bit for a review. You pick this is to help you make a decision for a particular farm number. We're going to give some general scenarios here that may be close to your farm or you think it is, but it's not your farm and your numbers, and we'll show some examples of why it's so important that it's yours. You have to put in your base acres for that farm number.
The FSA office will give you this information, this asking for. Okay, it's your base and yield history report. Did I get the terminology right? There's a form 156, which has all of them together and so forth. It's a little confusing. The 861 is like one farm at a time. And help me out, FSA folks, if I didn't say that right. Okay, and so you gotta have that in order to do this, okay? You may have it in your file someplace, but make sure you take them donuts and coffee. That works for me, obviously. So they're gonna need it, okay? They got a lot of work to do.
Give it to you or you give it to them?
So they give me that form.
I mean the coffee and donuts.
Oh, either way.
Okay. I didn't get my share of donuts. Let's go up.
Oh, I am.
I'm sorry, down. These don't change. Okay. Anything in green you can change for your individual situation. It's not in green. Like these, those are fixed. And they're just there so you can see them.
That any of you guys take crop loans out for cash flow and so forth? I do. I use storage on corn and soys, and going from
$95 or so.
95 up to 220, and then on soybeans, an increase in that loan rate. That gives me more cash flow without having to market the crop, good or bad.
That's even a bigger increase, right?
It's a big dollar.
$5, isn't it?
Yeah, big number.
Okay, let's go up, down just a little bit more. A little bit, okay, there. Go down a little more because I want to make this 100. Okay, I want to show you something here, okay? When we did that Olympic average yield of adjusted trend, your county for 2019, your expected average yield this year over a bunch of years, if we could duplicate 100 2019s, would be expected to be 159 bushels an acre. Okay? 220, we took your 218, adjusted for yields. That's not an official number, but it ought to be pretty dang close to what it turns out to be. The official number isn't even given. Okay. This happens to be the county average, your county average yield.
The actual.
The actual. Do you see any of them higher than 159? Okay, so that's kind of we're not talking about right or wrong thing here. We're just talking about the way it is.
Jim, I'm confused. How can you end up with an average higher than what the actuals were the prior 5 years?
Because technology has are increasing at a significant rate, and this is really based on where trends taking us in technology. Plus a little magic. So this is, if these were your yields, this would be your update. We talked about that a little bit. So I'm going to ask some questions which are kind of hard, a little bit hard right now. You're starting to get some idea what you might get, what you haven't got in your field, you may have no idea. Down in Ingham County, we're starting to get a little bit of idea what the county yields might be. Not great. They weren't great last year. This gives you a little bit of reference of what your county's been the last 5 years. Okay. If I had to ask you what you think your county average yield is going to be, not in this Olympic average, Chuck, just what you think it's going to be. You can say it relative to one of these numbers. Is this worse than 2013? You might remember a year in before that you think it's a lot alike. How many do you think you'll be 159.2?
Or higher?
How many do you think you'll be 140 or higher? Put minus 20 right here, percent. So you can go here and put minus 20. Okay? I'm pulling this out of the air a little bit, okay? You didn't like my 140. Like it or not, this is the number you want to make a best shot at. And I might advise you, if you think it could be in this range, maybe you predict the high side of that range, but don't predict the high yield. Is that way too low?
I'd say it's low.
You say it's low?
135 maybe. Okay.
But you got an awful lot of corn that went in for silage that was planted late that didn't amount to too much for years either.
But that won't be harvested bushels. See, that's what makes it estimating this number really hard.
It's the harvested for grain yield.
The county average yield is what's harvested for grain.
Could have been a phrase, right?
But it still won't count for this number.
Countrywide,
Your crop insurance
countrywide,
yield.
statewide, it doesn't count. So I don't see how it could count.
What,
We were using RMA data to establish.
Yes, but it's harvested acres for grain. The definition is harvested acres for grain. So, which if all of a sudden you didn't like it and you took it for silage, and that's the worst yield, could make the county yield a little bit higher.
So when the elevator takes the farmer's corn, do they give that farmer, this is from this farm, or is it just the average?
it's price only.
The elevator doesn't care what farm it came from.
Okay.
Yeah, the elevator reporting stuff is simply the weighted price.
Okay, that's what I want.
Nothing to do with individual farms. Remember that 20% is off of what? That trend line high yield. It's not trend line, it is in a way, but it's looking backwards and so forth.
So that's why I wanted to go back and forth with percentage and kind of an
Yes.
absolute. Let's leave it there for just a little bit. How about soybeans? The 20 jumped across, but we can change it. Leave it right now.
Okay.
This is 35.6 relative to your last 5 years. Is that in the ballpark or is that too low again? Too high?
Too low.
Too low?
How many too low? How many too highs? I got one eye right, and I got 29 people who aren't paying attention. When you've done forecasting as long as I have, you're used to your head swelling up, getting popped, and then you move on. We're gonna change these, but this is just starting, make that minus, or just 0. Okay? I don't know did we come in kind of average this year?
A little below, yeah.
Little below, maybe -5 or something. Okay. The state kind of is a whole, so that matches up with the state pretty well. Okay,
I think -15 on soils.
we'll just leave it there for a little bit. We'll switch it. Okay, now let's go down a little bit. So the next thing is you have to pick what you think the price is going to be. These prices are actually more up to date than what's given here. The USDA does a long-term forecast. That's the numbers in there. The ones came out yesterday. WASDE updates it every month. So right now my WASDE is actually 19, their number, and USDA is this one, okay? This one we're not using. It's kind of old. FAPRI just updated theirs towards the end of October. I kind of play with the futures market to try and develop what I think the futures market is suggesting for a cash price, otherwise adjusting for historical basis. I'm not sure how well that works. Hilker's always willing to stick his foot in his mouth. And then let's just use this composite. The composite is I take all 5 of those and average it. Okay, but that's a green spot. You can put any price in there you want. Any green cell, yes, sir. Okay. FAPRI's a large world model that forecasts prices out of the University of Missouri. They've been doing it for 30 years. We actually used to have one at Michigan State, so I know quite a bit about it. If I had to pick theirs or USDA's long-term models, I'd pick FAPRI. They don't have some of the constraints.
So what are we trying to do here from a tool standpoint? We're trying to give you choices and looking at different sources. Because there is no one source for what prices are going to be, right? Everybody's got, and you can put any number you want to.
If you just want to play.
So the program is designed for you to test the what ifs. It's designed for you to ask the what ifs from a risk management standpoint. What happens if this happens? That's what it's designed to do.
Yeah. So what he's saying there, so we're going to kind of give you on this farm kind of what it says, but maybe you're not too bad. You want to protect that year where you have a bad yield, a bad county yield at the same time. If that doesn't happen, you're in pretty good shape. So you might put that in and see if that pays better in one program than the other. And I'm going that one, not because I think it's the most likely, but if everything hits the fan, it's going to help me the most. That's why we look some at what if. So let's go down a little bit more. So we put in some prices. By the way, these, I will tell you right now, the 5 don't differ very much. The futures markets, they're all kind of talking the same story. That doesn't mean it can't change. Well, you want to do no first? Either way is fine.
Just to show them.
Yeah, okay.
Just show them.
Yeah, we'll come back and show how important that is in a second. But we're saying these were higher, so you update it.
96 is lower than 121, so you want to use 121. Simple as that.
Go up a little bit now.
Up and down.
Down. See, I'm thinking.
Shooting it up.
Okay, go up a little more. Okay, right there.
I'm going down.
So nothing's, I started in February '82, he started in April, things have never changed. Now, this is how many acres? 1,000 acres.
1,000 acres.
Okay, so these dollars are on 1,000 acres. Okay? If this thing, so we make a shot at our first guess here. These are over 2 years, but we're gonna show you 1 year, okay? Okay? PLC would be a little bit better than our county for corn. No PLCs forecasted. Pretty good payment here, and we'll get into a couple of different reasons. Well, I'll do it a little bit right now. One of them is the price being above, both years, the price being above the reference price, the forecasted price. So by definition, then, there's no PLC payment. Okay? This number, we'll get into years, two things are happening. One, we have the yield down this year. And the second thing is this 5-year Olympic, remember in corn we used 370 4 times, so we used it for 3. Soybeans, the 5-year Olympic average price is higher than the reference price. So that income that's calculated by the 5-year average price of soybeans times the county yield, we can hit that higher price easier. So we'll hit that 5-year Olympic average before we hit the reference price. In corn, they're exactly the same. Wheat, it's pretty close. Now go down. Get it right? Keep going. That's pretty pictures right here. This is a little harder to see. Our corn paid in the first year, PLC corn did nothing. So let's say we guess this year's numbers right because we know by January or February, and it turns out to be that way. So we know for 19, our county's better for corn. How much does PLC have to pay in 20, and there's higher odds of it paying in 20, according to these numbers, to offset it? So the numbers we put in, PLC. Now, when we get into the next 3 years of decisions, you won't have to do it. You'll just say this one, and go for it. This one, there's that trade-off. And if this had been March, we would have just all been doing PLC. Soybeans, no PLC payments either year, but a pretty significant one this year. Both a little bit on the price because it's getting close to that 5-year Olympic average or just under, but are 20% down. Now we may be too high on that.
Production wise.
Yes.
On the county yield. But we're not getting one of these probably in either year for soybeans. This is important. See how I can make a commodity by commodity decisions. I can do PLC or our county for corn, the opposite one for soybeans, or the same one. And then for wheat. Now we go to wheat. PLC wheat pays both years, and there's, given the numbers you had, that 5. Now, why would 5% down start giving me something? Well, the MYA price is below it. So remember, our county payment's based on price and yield. So the yield isn't down enough by itself to start paying you, but it being down along with the effective price, which is the market year average price, there gets to be a payment. So go up a little bit. Did I see a question here? This way.
So your 2019 column, that's the projected or estimated payment for 2020 of October next year, and then 2020 column is the projected payment for twenty twenty-one, October?
Yes, it's the program year. So 19, it's a 19 program year, so that price, that payment will come in October of 20, for the 19 program year. Just this past October, we got the PLC or our county payments for the 2018 year in October of 19. Because we don't know what the prices are until we get to September of 19 for the 18 crop.
Now, there would still be a soybean payment if we moved it up a little. For corn, this one gets harder to beat, but if the yield's down a little bit, and as prices go down, if prices and yield goes down, this one's gonna grow a little faster now. Because this one grows just on, as price goes down. This one grows on price going down and yields going down. Of course, yields can go up, but, I mean, projected.
So why wasn't there any payment on PLC corn 2019?
Okay, go up a little bit of the prices. We put in a price, I'll just tell you, the price we put in, the average price for the 5 forecast was 284,
384.
384, and there's no payment.
I gotta watch them all.
Poor people, yeah. I should put a mask on.
He drove, so I gotta be careful.
That's because I got his last program thing at 2 a.m. this morning. I wasn't up. I went to bed right after we lost last night. Which was midnight. 384 is higher than 370. And I don't, right now, if you look at prices that have been paid on corn in this state, which is almost all 218 corn, but that doesn't matter. I think we'll be closer to probably $3.90 or $4 for average corn price this year.
For national average.
For national average corn price. So I'm not, I mean, to go down even this, from this 14 cents would be big. Now, if we got into some policy fight somewhere, that could change. But I don't see us going below the reference price. And soybeans has a little bit more, but I really don't think the soybean price is going to go down to $8.40. In fact, I expect that to go up just a little bit. It could go down or up, but if either one, it's not going to give a PLC payment. And next year, all the models are suggesting we'll plant a lot of corn next year relative to soybeans. So we're going to move some soybean acreage into corn. Now, we'll see if that happens. It really depends on what relative prices are in about 3 months here. Which acre is going to, which acre do you think is going to pay higher, soybean or corn? I mean, that's the questions you have to go through I go through in my head when I'm trying to forecast this price. The same what the other people are doing. How many acres we plant? Okay. Let's change the yield a little bit. Okay, that's a good one, okay? Put these at no. Get rid of your check here. Come down here. Oh, you're doing it. Put this one back on yet. Look at this one. It goes up. The PLC payment. Because there won't even PLC payment that affects it.
That's on 200 acres of, 400 acres of corn, 200 acres of wheat.
Notice which ones that help more. That person who, if you actually had the old yields and these yields, it didn't help your county payment any. But it helped the PLC a lot. So you could get a different decision, ARC versus PLC, if you happen to have, if ARC's winning, if you happen to be able to really increase your PLC yield. You can start changing your answers on here. So it's really important that you have that number in there. Let's change corn yield just a little more. We don't think it's gonna, you already think this is too high, but make that minus 20, 2 or 3 for a second. Okay, let's see how it changed your answer. Okay, so a couple more percent changes the answers, so, the point. Okay, so it's not very big from that. Now, if we went to your 15% down, then PLC is gonna start looking pretty good. We'd really have to lower soybean price a bunch for PLC to kick in, even if we raise that yield some.
Right through.
Are there, okay? Let's look at a risk one now, okay? Let's go up to your yields. Leave these where you have them, okay? Well, let's just look at corn. Put corn at minus 15 or something. Let's go down there. Look what starts happening. Now, why did I do that? I have no reason to believe the corn yield's going to be anything other than trend next year. I mean, it'll be different than the trend, but I don't know up or down. But if you're more worried about that risk management part of this thing, although on a county basis, you might do this. It'd probably be better though to do it with crop insurance than this one, but that's kind of, I'm just looking sort of as a group policy insurance. If you're wanted to use this to cover some of that, i.e. I don't have crop insurance. And I'm usually near the county yield. Go back up to the answers. It doesn't take much to change these answers, so you kind of need to play. And as I hope when we did that yes or no, how important updating that program yield, like the PLC yield might be. How many people in here irrigate? Okay, there's some.
Just one irrigator?
There's a couple.
Couple.
Two. It turns out there's about 3 or 4.
Okay.
Why don't you take over there a little bit?
The 2018 Farm Bill, well, the 14 Farm Bill had about 7 counties in Michigan with irrigated yields. Okay, with the 2018 Farm Bill, it's probably 30 or 40 counties. They've got irrigated yields on something.
So I think there's 2 county yields.
Yeah, so there's, it's like a whole separate crop. Use trend yields and so forth. Those numbers are calculated by FSA and they are published in terms of what those irrigated yields actually are. You would think that you normally would have less variation with irrigated yields versus dryland, right? Not necessarily. Guy has some irrigated ground, and guess what happened to me the wet year? Okay, my irrigated yields weren't very good. Getting 14 inches of water, 15 inches of water on them in 2 weeks or 5 days on planting corn didn't work. Okay, and especially I got some heavier ground, whatever. Okay, and so these numbers, and you start changing this to irrigated yields, you'll get different answers. Corn dryland is different than corn irrigated. Okay, they're different calculations, different numbers. Okay, to make things more complicated. Okay, if you have a farm number that has both irrigated corn and dryland corn, different years, it ends up being a weighted calculation. Okay, and the spreadsheet has got a tool in there, which I hope matches to the FSA requirements in terms of what they need to calculate. Talking to Kalamazoo County with Grant Runner, okay, and Kalamazoo, who's been doing this, they have to manually calculate their weighted yields for dryland versus irrigated. I keep looking at you, you keep shaking your head, you know what I'm talking about, okay? That makes you feel good, you know what I'm talking about, okay? And then so, and the program will do that. You plug in the percent irrigated, I'll calculate it on a separate spreadsheet. Let me show it to you real quick. It's right here under irrigation. And you can plug in Go back to the program, I got it over several big, so it's gonna go a bit goofy. So we can go to, the irrigation worksheet. The irrigation worksheet, I'll blow it up so it looks big. Okay, for Isabella County, farm number 8756, put in your irrigated acres, say you had 100 acres of irrigated, the irrigated yield was, 190. Dryland acres, say you had 20 acres. I should have used it in section for whatever, and the dryland yield was maybe, 120, something like that, okay, and then, you had another, 75 acres. This year, yield was 180, and you had, 40 acres, and that yield was lousy, it's only 100 bushels on that dryland corn. And so it goes through and says, okay, you've got a weighted average yield of 165.25, and 74.28% of your acreages are irrigated. And you go to the farm, you can print this table off for corn and soybeans, print it off, take it to the FSA office, and I hope this is the information that you guys need, that you can boom, plug these numbers into your program or your little calculator, or use these numbers if you trust my math, and hopefully it works and helps a little bit, well, for you guys, what your job is.
We'll use how it was certified.
Correct.
So we'll just use previous 578 data to create these numbers. Now, we're in the past, they data loaded those percentages for us. We just had to go back through and look for the ones that were missing data due to change in farm numbers or whatever. And we had to manually calculate those.
Okay.
But we're just strictly looking at the percentage of acres.
Okay.
We aren't gonna load production.
So they gotta do that. The farmer's gonna have to give you that production in order to update those yields.
Unless it's changed, they don't use their actual yields in that calculation for RCO. So
No, I'm talking
Oh.
PLC yield update. Purely PLC yield update stuff.
Okay, hip percentage gets used in the calculation for RCO, right? So PLC yield update is, PLC yield update updates PLC. So whatever production they certify on that farm
Right.
is what goes into that. So if they want to provide it in this format, that would be fine, I guess, if we transfer it to our
Yeah.
E67.
Somehow you gotta create a weighted yield for that farm number.
What difference does it make if it's irrigated or it's just looking?
How big? Well,
If we put it all
because it's
together.
also weighted on the R County calculation by your percent of irrigated versus dry land and your PLC. It's all blended in together.
Right, but what difference does it make if the yield is the same? It doesn't matter, because if you're yielding 190 bushels irrigated, it's just the bushels that
Right.
you're turning in.
Yeah, this is just to get to that number.
Okay.
That's what this does.
I've never done it with them.
Okay, well, other counties do it different.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm not trying to pick on any county here.
So, I mean, we're kind of talking about two separate things. So we update the yield based on the certified yield they give us from the farm.
And this is designed to help do that.
The hit percentage
Yeah.
is just the irrigated acres, percent of acres that are irrigated. So when it does the calculation, isn't it RCO only for hit percentage? So they have to select RCO. So I'm not gonna the only reason I might want this information is if that's the yield they're gonna certify for that farm.
Yeah, that's why it's there. This is only
Yeah.
there, the only idea is it could affect their PLC yield.
That's the only benefit. It's strictly for helping to update the PLC and to, it should match up, they already got that at 578, it should match up as far as the percent irrigated yield, but your R County payment, okay, will be different for a farm that has irrigated yields
Yes. So
versus dryland.
I'm not really sure we need, I gotta think this through, but I'm not sure we need this. If they're gonna prove their yields by farm, and you have that, you already have that in your spreadsheet.
That's here, that's what this does. This calculates that, it pulls it in. instead of trying to do all the stuff on the side, okay, if you have irrigated yields and dry land yields, you know what percent of your ground was irrigated. Okay, you use this spreadsheet, then you add imports it into the spreadsheet. That's all it does.
Into the, where you.
Yeah,
report it.
that's all it does. Okay, so you go back to Farm Bill calculator. Okay, and over to here, and then these numbers, we import down to irrigation worksheet, and boom, there's my numbers. And I didn't do soybeans because it was percentage is 0. So I didn't do that one. Okay, so there I got that number calculated plus a weighted yield that I can use down here below for my yields, which is over here now. Okay, there's my farm yields for corn. Okay, that pulled in off that worksheet. So that's what it does. It helps you fill out that other part. That's all it's for. Okay, does that make sense now? Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
Freddie, then when they're doing the like county yields for a lot of this part of the program, where are they pulling those county yields from? Just the RMA?
The multiple source, whatever they can prove. We recommend they use your crop insurance data. It should match up.
Are you talking to calculate the county yield or?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is there a different way?
Oh, the county yield is the black box. It used to be more heavily weighted by mass yields, the same surveys that, you know, when we get our state and,
Mass is going all the RMA, so that's what.
well, and that's what, so the way the Farm Bill said is to be more heavily weighted when possible, the insurance, RMA yield versus NAS yield. And if they become the same thing, then that argument's over.
Yeah, Wayne?
We're on yields. I was given a Q&A that said that prevent plant will be considered 0 production, which means we would unplug. 3 places in procedure says it has to have been planted. So we're gonna have to get an official answer.
Okay, you got conflicting information.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Excellent.
And as fast as thing had to be pushed through with people, small numbers doing it, that's not a real big. I wouldn't knock anybody for that. Slip through the crack and you get an official answer. Other scenarios you might want to do. Let me say a couple things here, and then you need to make it on your farm. Okay? Yes. Farm. Okay? Yes.
Jim, now you have your predictions in there and it's as of October. Are you gonna update that?
I'll update mine continues, you know. The long run USDA that just came out won't be updated again until March. And usually isn't very much then, but this year might be. Okay? The factory ones in October won't be updated until he asks his decisions. The futures market, as we go through the year, I'll rely less and less for 19 on the futures because too much is already been sold. I don't use that for 19, but I'll keep updating.
So if I download this form, I need to go back to the website and download it again in order to get those.
Well, especially if, you know what I mean, when the supply demand reports come out? If they update the forecast significantly for 219, then you probably need to go back. If they're not changing that number, it stays the same, then you probably don't need to go back.
And you normally update yours on a monthly basis or?
I don't update mine. I tend to go my fundamentals unless I think something significantly changed. So otherwise, if USDA makes significant change, I'm probably gonna look at it. That's why I said, the long run on this, their monthly one, they'll change every month if they need to. For 19, but they're not WASB. The one WASB, one, a whole mess of people, USDA.
You had mentioned in February, you might have good numbers in February.
Well, what it is about 60% of the weighted average price is already made up by then, and the USDA has that on the website. Then you only have to kind of Then when USDA is estimating theirs, they're probably pretty darn close to right because they're taking an awful big swing in prices to start changing. And, you know, it may not change again after December, right?
So what level of confidence do you have in wheat, since we kind of almost lose half of the.
The wheat one, yeah, the wheat price isn't gonna change very much. And if we saw the yield, if you have this real high Olympic yield, then you don't need much of a decrease in county yields to help. But it's awful hard to find a wheat example where PLC doesn't win. Because this year it's kind of winning, and next year there's no reason to believe it won't win. Which is a little bit of a summary then. For wheat, put your numbers in, check it out, and use this not as your decision, but to kind of make sure you're in the right ballpark. Looks like PLC for wheat, okay? It looks like there won't be PLC payments for soybeans. There may be, at least in 19, our county payments for soybeans. Most people aren't saying that. Maybe their county yields aren't as bad, or maybe they didn't get such high ones in their 5-year Olympic averages. I don't know. And it looks like for a lot of counties in Michigan, and that's where it gets real individual, it's going to be more of a, it may be a toss-up point. What you do. But if it is, it's because our county wins in 19. So how bad the prices have to be in 20 for PLC to overtake? Because I'm not particularly predicting our county paying next year. There would be some of those, because even that 350 price didn't give you a county ARC payment if you had your trend deal. So that's, again, that's not telling you what to do, but I think it's important that you have kind of, what am I looking for on my farm? And if it's way different than that, maybe you better check your numbers. You know, if you're finding an answer way different than those three I'm giving you, you really want to double check your answer.
How many of you farm in some other county other than Isabella? Okay, number of you. Okay, make sure you run this program for the county, because those data things are different in other counties, okay? Remember, your FSA farm number doesn't matter administrative, it's what county that farm lies in. And it's a used program. That's what you can do.
And you can never have one farm number that falls in two separate counties. You'll have two separate farm numbers, if that's the case.
Ah,
Not
boy.
the physical location. You could have one farm number that has physical located ground in Isabella County, administered in Isabella County, and it could have Midland County ground in it.
So it'll be the same farm number, but the other portion is administered in the other county?
No, it would be administered in Isabella County, but there could be Midland physically located ground within that farm. And there's a percentage in the payment calculations to account for that.
Okay.
All right, wow, I didn't know that. So you'd have to take that through.
Payment-wise, it goes with the county.
Physical location.
For the
So you could
18
have a
bill.
blended payment on one farm number.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Yeah, but that follows what the intentions of the bill.
The way I'm looking at my fund is I'm looking at PLC for wheat, ARC COs for soybeans, and because I don't know what percentage of corn that I'm in silage, I would go with ARC count.
Well, remember,
Depends on what your yields are currently.
Could we do an example?
well, we'd have to know what his yields are.
It depends on how bad. Okay, his question is, he's kind of leaning toward PLC on wheat, our county on soys, corn, because he's a livestock guy, doesn't have nice clean records on his $185,000 used combine with all the yield data on it. Okay, like I got, yeah, right. Okay, okay, that's just for the head, not the combine. So he's kind of leaning toward our county because then you don't have to worry about all this PLC stuff and the yield and things. I would suggest that we look at what your yields are, use those numbers. Okay, if you can't, at least see what it does with your old PLC yields. And if you're like a lot of livestock guys, they're pretty lousy numbers because you haven't updated them in several years. Okay, I mean, I've got one corn that's at 80 bushels on a farm I picked up the last 2 or 3 years.
I think my average for corn on my farm is 124.
That's not bad. That's better than what my average is. Okay, so it just depends. Okay, if you're 124, you know, but it's farm number. You got some average. Some are pretty good. So if you got a pretty good PLC yield, that would lean which way? Toward PLC. If you got a lousy PLC payment yield, payment yield, okay, then you might lean maybe on those farms more toward Yarra County. That makes sense?
Yeah, and that is what you can do, Sal.
Yeah.
Yeah, most people have multiple farms. On corners.
Farm number by farm number.
If you're not sure, you can split.
And that might split your risk
I
too.
only have one farm.
Okay.
Because I have played with your tool, and I'm from another county.
Yes.
But in my county, it's a difference on corn, or if I'm 145 for a PLC yield, it looks like PLC is it. If I'm below 145.
Yeah.
Then our county plays a higher.
Yes.
Now,
For a while.
is that even after you dropped your 219 yields, county yield?
That's that one. That's for the 19.
No, that was for a farm, I thought, or is that your county yield?
That is for a farm. If I drop the PLC yield.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
So
If I'm over
Yes.
145.
Yes.
It pays to go PLC. If I'm
Perfect.
under 145, it takes to go other county.
Perfect
Okay,
example.
Perfect example, but I got one more question. Did you adjust the 219 yield in?
No, in that case, I did not.
Because your cutoff's gonna change. If that yield's down like to 16% or something that it needs to be, or might, maybe your county it isn't, so.
And that's exactly, you know, again, I want to emphasize, our thought process in this tool is to ask what is.
So that-
Okay, 'cause that's how you have to do this thing. You got to look at your farm, your risk, personal preferences, what your bias is, or whether you trust Hilker's numbers, or trust Packard's numbers, whoever it might be, that you're looking at in terms of what's some guesstimate, what these prices will be and what will happen if. Because we don't know. It's just like crop insurance. You hope you don't use it. But once you're in it, you might as well keep right on going because it pays on the futures price, which is usually better than cash. Sorry, that's getting whole straight.
So Roger, where do these folks get this tool? You keep talking about your tool. Well, maybe.
It's on the firm website. It's going to be advertised in various news releases and so forth. Okay, it's currently at the firm website.
Just have one right here.
I don't know what's to say there.
PRC, PLC, mitigation tools, farm bills.
I don't think that's.
No,
That's Texas A&M. I don't know how to do it. You show 'em. It's a firm website. It's on the telephone website.
You just search MSU firm, it would come up.
Yeah, search MSU extension firm, FIRM. I don't know if you're online, get yours. There you go. What you put in there? Decision tools, up 3.
Where it is under decision tools.
Okay.
There you
Scroll down. Graphic
No,
go. Up top.
No.
Right now it's under crop insurance decisions, I think.
Go down.
Crop insurance.
First one underneath crop.
Well, we'll put it in more, this needs to be on the front page of our website, I mean, firm page. When
That'll be
you go
on
to-
our,
when it goes to the firm page, it ought to be on the first page.
There it is, okay. That's version 2.0, so I've already updated it with new prices. Did you hear this
Someone
here?
up here was saying, when I go over here in county, their deals are pretty good. I mean, in a way, the decision might be way more straightforward.
Okay, lots of questions. This is not that complicated, but it does take some thought, and it's not a black and white answer. Okay, it's not as simple as what's in some of the popular press in internal Iowa. Okay, we're different in Michigan. We have so much variation in yields is what does that.
And sign up as soon as.
And sign up immediately.
Yeah.
Because you
Okay.
can change your mind.
You
Now,
can change your mind.
I won't, even before I knew it, I never was asking you to change the decision. But
All right.
We're gonna try and have all our meetings done, other than a few way north by the middle of January.
All right, well, thank you. We're available for questions and so forth. Paul, we'll turn it back to you.
Okay, there's a couple of things before we wrap up. I didn't introduce one person, Eric Karbowski. I bet you as a new person in this area, working with the farm stress across the state. Eric's probably a familiar person to some of you people in the southern part of the county. But Eric, can you just introduce yourself and what you're going to be doing?
Yeah, I just wanted to say hi. Mary Esther's crew, hi. Little shout out to Irishtown, right? For those of you that I haven't met yet, I'm a behavioral health educator with MSU Extension. A lot of times when I start talking, people are like not really comfortable about talking about stress, mental health, and suicide. But I think the reality of it is it is happening. It's prevalent in our areas. I had no intentions of being here today. My career was going in a very different direction, but I grew up on a farm and I experienced personally, professionally, the impact of both mental illness and suicide. And so when I got the email about this job, I said, what a great opportunity to give back to the community that I care about. And so if you do see stuff, I had a 15-minute spiel. Roger asked me to prepare 15 minutes today, so I'm going to do that in 30 seconds. But I know it's a hard thing. And it takes a brave person to come out and say, hey, listen, I need help. But you know what? I'm talking to a lot of people. You're not alone in some of the experiences that you're feeling. There's information up here. I left my cards. I left a paper, how to communicate. And if you're not listening to me for yourself, listen for your neighbor, or listen for maybe your friends or your family. Because, you know, when you start thinking about stress, it's easy for you to recognize stress in other people. At least for me, it is to recognize stress in other people than it is for myself. And so maybe this will just open some eyes, ears, and know that there are resources out there, people that can help if you are personally experiencing it, or somebody that you know is experiencing some stress or some issues. So thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Just a couple more things. Make sure you get a copy of that analyzer. They'll be available in the extension offices. I'll have them. If you're not, I know the Farm Service are very helpful, but they always can't kind of make some of those recommendations. So myself, Monica, Casey, and our farm management, Valencia, Corey, if you want to sit down with somebody and kind of work through some scenarios, we're really happy to do that to help you through some of them decisions. But get a copy of that, because each farm is different. Each situation, your own farm, and each individual farm number. Get signed up. Get your what's it, base and yield notifications from FSA. Get in and get the ball rolling. Because I think there's an awful lot of people that need to get processed through. The quicker you can get in, the better off. There's a sign-in sheet here. Not everybody signed it, but if you include your email, sometimes this analyzer changes. There's updates.
It will
made to
update.
it.
As prices update, we're going to change it.
So as things change, they will change it. And if you want to be notified of those changes, please get signed in. Appreciate everybody coming. If you want to hear it again, if you didn't get it all, just come down to Inderpin to the Douglas Township Hall at 2 o'clock, and we'll do this all over again. So thanks for coming. We'll be around for questions, but have a good day.
Yes, I asked her.
There's a lot, just got to be